Hi, I'm Lidia. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to look at a really interesting feature in Photoshop that offers a different way to handle your journaling and titles. Most of us are used to the standard paragraph text box where you type and then manually adjust the size to make it fit. But Photoshop has another tool called dynamic text. Instead of manual adjustment, this tool automatically scales your text to fit inside any shape you draw. It's a real time saver. So let's jump in and see how it works. To start, create an 8 by 8 inch canvas at 300 pixels per inch with a white background. This is just a practice page, so we can focus on learning how dynamic text works. Get the type tool. In the toolbar, pick the fonts you'd like to use for this example. I will just use Abadi Empty Condensed Extra Bold. One quick thing before we continue. The font size doesn't matter right now. As long as you can read your text, you're good. Dynamic text will handle the sizing for us. So go ahead and type the text you want to use for your layout. I already have a quote picked out for this example. So I will paste my text in here and click the check mark to commit the change. Now, if we leave this as regular text, you can see it doesn't really fit. Some of the text goes off the canvas. That is exactly where dynamic text helps. And there are 3 different ways to apply dynamic text. I will show you each one. The first way is in the tool options. Over here, click the T icon on the lightning bolt and then choose block. The second way is through the contextual taskbar. Right-click on the black area outside the canvas and then choose Show Contextual Taskbar. And here, as you can see, you can click the T icon with the lightning bolt. The third way is in the Properties panel while the Type tool is active. If you don't see it, go to Window, Properties. And here, in the Properties panel, you can scroll down and click Dynamic Text. Well, you might be wondering why nothing seems to be happening yet. Don't worry, we'll fix that in just a second. If you look over in the Layers panel, you will notice the thumbnail on the text layer has changed. That tells us dynamic text has been applied to this layer. Now, on the canvas, click directly on the text. You'll see a text box appear, and this is where it gets fun. When I resize this container to be tall and narrow, notice how the font automatically shrinks and adjusts the line breaks to fit that vertical space. If I drag it out into a larger square, the font grows. I'm not touching the font size at all. Photoshop is doing all the work for me. It's dynamically adjusting the text to fit the space I've defined and modifying the font size of certain words, which makes this feel really fluid when you are designing. So to move the text box around the canvas, hold down Ctrl or Command on a Mac until your cursor changes to the Move tool icon. While holding the key, you can move the text box anywhere you like. And then just let go. Isn't this fun? Alright, let me just shrink this a little bit more to be this size. Okay. Now, what if you want a word to sit on its own line? For example, this word ordinary here. To do that, click and drag between the word you want on its own and the word next to it. You'll see a small highlight appear in that empty space. Press Backspace or Delete on a Mac, then do the same thing on the other side of the word. There you go. Now, ordinary sits on its own line, completely independent, and no matter how much you resize the text box, it will stay on its own. I also love how you can change parts of the text to add a visual interest and variety to your title or journaling. To do that, start by choosing a font that complements the text you are already using. Since I'm using this chunky font, Abadi Empty Condensed Extra Bold, I'm going to pair it with a lighter font so the two work nicely together. This helps the title feel more balanced. So first, open the character panel. If you don't see it, in the menu bar, go to Window, Character. I use this panel quite often, so I like to dock it here. Over here, when you see the blue line right there appear, that means the panel is docked and will stay in place. And if you prefer, you can also just click the icon to expand the panel whenever you need it. And so here in the canvas, I will highlight the text I want to change, and using the character panel, select the fonts you'd like to use. Sometimes you might notice awkward gaps between words. You can actually turn this into a design opportunity. If you want to create more negative space, maybe to fit a small embellishment between words over here, place your cursor in the gap and press Alt, right arrow to push the words apart. You can also use the baseline shift on text above or below. To find it, open the character panel again. But first, make sure that you highlight the specific letter or text first. In this case, I will highlight the word people, and then here in the character panel, I will nudge it up or down. In this case, I'll just nudge it down using the slider until it looks just right. And so here is how it looks after adding this small flare to fill that awkward gap. If you want, you can resize the text box so the text naturally flows into two lines. I'm placing this text around a photo with one line above the photo and the other below it. Let me just move this a little bit to the center. I will use this photo here as an example. Here is the trick to separating them. Highlight only the bottom line of text, and then in the character panel, adjust the baseline shift to whatever value works best for your layout to push that line down. Now, since we can see the gap here, I will highlight the top line of text and use the character panel to adjust the baseline shift so it sits nicely closer to the photo. To create gaps between the letters of a word, here is how to do it. Highlight the text you want to adjust, then in the character panel, slide the tracking left or right depending on whether you want the letters closer together or further apart. So I'm just going to use the menu right here, and if you want it to be closer together, you can do -10, or if you want it to be further apart, use 10 or 25 depending on how you like it. But I'm going to leave mine just as it is. And that's how you can use dynamic text to make your titles and journaling fit perfectly every time. Here is my finished layout using the dynamic text effect we just worked on. If you found this tip helpful, give the video a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel. And if you'd like more quick Photoshop tips for digital scrapbooking, be sure to subscribe. You can also check the description box for a list of all the materials I used to create this layout. I'll see you in the next video, and keep on scrapping.